men's or women's, college or pro, since 2019. I'm Ryan Daniels, USA News.
Omaha Steaks Burger Perfection Flight, made from single cuts of real aged Omaha steaks, rewrites the book on burgers. Go to omahasteaks.com. Use promo code TREAT at checkout for an extra $20 off your order, plus free shipping when you order the $79.99 Burger Perfection Flight. A fantastic array of pure ground steak on a bun burger greatness. For $20 off the Burger Perfection Flight, use promo code TREAT at checkout at omahasteaks.com and discover your new burger obsession. Minimum order may be required.
Children in poverty, each one unique, each one full of dreams. They're our hope, our future. They're the reason Children International exists. And even when the whole world changed, the things that mattered most to us stayed the same. Giving children the tools they need to set their own goals and create futures free from poverty.
Tengo suficiente comida saludable.
Estoy aprendiendo todos los días.
Estoy sana y fuerte.
We've developed new ways to reach children and families during these vulnerable times, ensuring they have access to health care, education, life skills, and more, so they can achieve their dreams. Learn more about Children International and join us at children.org/help today.
And welcome to a special edition of Extended Montana Talks right here on 102.7 KINX. We are joined in our studio here on Central Avenue West by three prominent people that really have the information they'd like to share with you. Let me introduce to you, first of all, Tanner Smith, who kind of put this thing together. And Tanner, you're a representative. Yes. From House District 11 right here in Great Falls.
Actually, Lakeside, Summer, South Kalispell is who I represent.
Okay, great.
Yep.
See, I'm glad that you, everyone's going to clear things up for me as I introduce you and such.
Yes.
Now, you're obviously the person that kind of got us together here on this Tuesday morning. We're also, of course, in our studio, Randy Pinocci. Now, he is the current commissioner of the Montana Public Service Commission, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and also you're running for lieutenant governor.
Yes, sir.
You're on a ticket, right?
Yes.
And who was that with?
Tanner Smith.
Tanner Smith is running for governor.
Yes, sir.
You're on the ticket as lieutenant governor.
That's correct.
All right, we're going to find out, obviously, more and more background. But we're also, here's the subject, bleeding soldiers. And Roy Roberts is in our studio as well. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, that's kind of a huge program and organization that we're going to be focusing on here this morning.
Yes, it is, sir.
All right, let's get a little bit of a background then of what Bleeding Soldiers is about.
Bleeding Soldiers is about soldiers that have signed the line for soldiers that are getting hurt in the line of duty. What has happened is that these soldiers ended up putting their time in, then turn around, paperwork wasn't completed through the COVID and other times, and these soldiers ended up not getting recognized for being hurt in the line of duty. And we're just trying to get benefits for these soldiers. We found out that we started out was just here in Great Falls, but we started tracking out and ended up finding about 1,000 of these soldiers and their stories.
Mm-hmm. And how did this come about, you getting together with Tanner then?
Well,
catching his interest.
That's great because Randy Pinocci, me and him, we ran into each other. We were out at Home Depot and he cut across my path in the aisle there and he's like, Rory, and I'm like, Tanner, and Randy, and we just clicked. You know, we've been knowing each other for a long time, and he's like, what's going on? And I told him this about these soldiers getting hurt.
Mm-hmm. And your reaction there then, Tanner? I mean, what was it that just said, I've got to get involved, I've got to get the voice out and be heard?
Well, thanks for having us on first, Troy. The biggest thing here is you have to remember that I'm a citizen legislator. So when I hear situations like Rory's going through, those are things that we as Montanans cannot allow to happen. You know, we need to raise the bar with how we treat our veterans. Every political season, you see everybody come out of the woodwork about how they're going to help the veterans. But myself as governor, along with Randy Pinocci, my lieutenant governor, we have proven solutions that we will fix this and we will help this with our veterans. You know, we're going to have a veterans administration on the second floor at the Capitol where it needs to be. Because every year, you know, like I say, everybody comes out, we want to help the veterans, and then everybody rides off into the sunset and nothing ever happens. I have a brother that's a veteran. I have a stepdad that served 3 tours of Nam from 67 to 70. So we as a family have lived this and breathed this. And it breaks our heart to hear stories like this with veterans that were promised these things, that served diligently and nobly, and then they're being abandoned by our current governor. So there's all things we can fix, and I intend to fix it.
Sounds to me like it's a campaign platform.
It is part. This is one of our
for some of those that have run and been elected, and then all of a sudden just kind of disappears, rides off into the sunset.
It does, and they leave the poor veterans in the wake. Every election cycle, the veterans get behind a candidate, whether it's candidate A or candidate B, on whichever side of the line that is. Obviously, we're a conservative Republican. I am, so we are going to fix this. It needs to stop. And we're just, myself and Randy, working with Rory and these good veterans, we're the team to put an end to this and finally take care of our veterans.
And Randy, you were mentioning earlier that this is one of the 3 very important issues facing, I would say, not only the state but also the country itself.
Absolutely. And I want to give the listeners a little history. I've been involved in politics for 30 years. I worked with Conrad Burns, Rick Hill, Denny Reberg, Judy Martz. As Conrad Burns, the statewide director, veterans were a real issue. So we had a veterans liaison inside the campaign so that we would be working with the veterans issues facing Montana. Montana has a large amount of veterans, and I've been able to work on these issues with a variety of people running for office. And what surprises me, folks, is I'm seeing everybody run for Congress and running all these races, and very, very few of them have any experience. And listening to them speak about their races, they're really not reaching out to the veterans to make them part of the campaign. We actually have a director of ag, and I was really looking for a director of Veterans Affairs. But when I ran into Rory, I said, what really amazes me is I can't get the benefits to my veterans that we promised them, but we're giving full benefits to illegal aliens crossing the border in the millions. And folks, if I had that money that we give the illegal aliens and I could give it to the veterans, I would believe the suicide rate on our Montana veterans would drop. So this became a real issue for me. So I asked Rory if he'd work with me, work with this campaign. Tanner's committed on these issues, and I've been working with veterans in past administrations for years. And what surprises me is that we're really the only campaign that's putting this to the forefront. And that's just experience that I have to give a credit to Conrad Burns, and he's passed away, but a great senator. So I'm using that experience from a U.S. senator to apply to this campaign here today.
All right, we've had a visit just to get a little bit of a background as to why we're here this morning. This is somewhat of an addition to Montana Talks, which we hear from 8 a.m. till 10 p.m., or 8 a.m. till 10 a.m. Tanner Smith, Randy Pinocci, Rory Roberts. Now, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to open up the phone lines. The phone number is 406-452-1073. Please call in any question, any concern. That's 452-1073, especially on the subject this morning, bleeding soldiers. We're back in a moment, so don't go away. You're live right here with 102.7 KINX.
Retired or retiring soon? How much money do you need to live comfortably? Retirement Planners of America is here for you. Would you like to have financial peace of mind? Here's how. Step 1. Find out the amount of money you'll need to retire. Step 2. Have a plan to get there. Step 3. Make sure that plan can take advantage of market gains but protect you from market losses. Discover how to do all 3 with a free consultation at 800-508-6108. That's 800-508-6108.
All investments involve risk, including losses. Past performance does not guarantee future results.
On the battlefield, there's a saying America's military men and women live by. Never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Off the battlefield, Wounded Warrior Project operates with the same goal. Wounded Warrior Project was created to help our men and women returning home with the scars of war, whether those scars are physical or mental. Wounded Warrior Project. We never leave a fallen warrior behind, ever. Learn more about what we do at woundedwarriorproject.org.
You tuned in to another thrilling episode of Why Did They Even Bother Radio, where the commercials are as exciting as watching paint dry. Are you tired of commercials that make you wish you could rip your ears off and donate them to science? Well, congratulations! You've stumbled upon the auditory masterpiece that will make you question your life choices even more.
Ready for a commercial that makes you want to throw your radio out the window? Of course you're not, but here it comes anyway.
Introducing the commercial so mind-numbing mundane, it'll make you question if you're actually living in a simulation. Picture this, a monotone voice listing off features of a product you couldn't care less about, accompanied by elevator music that'll make you contemplate the meaning of existence. Call now and receive absolutely nothing because, let's face it, we all know you're not going to call anyway. But wait, there's more. If you call in the next 5 minutes, we'll throw in a free existential crisis because why not add insult to injury? Did I get your attention? Call Star Radio and let us help change how your business is heard on the airwaves. Yes, call Star Radio right now, 406-761-2800.
Don't wait another minute.
Call 761-2800. That's 761-2800. Welcome back to a special edition of Interaction on 102.7 KINX. You might say it's an extended version of Montana Talks, of course, with Aaron Flint. He had the Joker on earlier this morning. It's not a joking matter, and that is the organization known as Bleeding Soldiers. And we've brought in, by the way, somebody who is living it right now, the experience, and that is Rory Roberts, obviously with Tanner Smith and Randy Pinocci. But Rory, back to you regarding Bleeding Soldiers. You've experienced it, and you were just mentioning something really serious about the military kicking you out. What's the story behind that?
Well, what happened here is that they ended up making an issue that said that I was unfit for duty. And in that process, I got hurt in the line of duty. But they made me 20 days short of 20 years to sign. They didn't wait till the end of the guard drill weekend. They didn't wait till my ETS date, which is the date that I signed in. The commanders came and asked me to sign this document. I didn't get no retirement type benefits, which is, medical discharge for a stroke in the line of duty. I ran 12 laps around the 341st Malmstrom Air Force Base gym, and I collapsed. Thank God for an airman, Kyle Holbrook. He ended up saving my life. He got me up on my feet, turned around. I walked it off. Didn't even know it. They call them mini strokes. And I was walking around. Then I drove 8 miles from Malmstrom all the way to the airport up at the 120th Air National Guard to the medical group. Lieutenant Shriver, Heather Shriver, my angel, she captured me. She says, "I think you're having a stroke." And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what's going on. All I know is the whole left side of my body shut off. And the emergencies kicked in, and they started sending me down to the Benefice. And they got me down there, and the Benefice, thank you, Benefice, thank you, Benefice, thank you, Benefice. I didn't know this drug exists, but they administered TPA. I don't know if anybody knows it, but you need to know it. The doctors talked me into it. You sign this document. It's a 50-50 chance of living. 50-50. You just throw a coin in the air. And what it does, it eats out the blood clots. And when it ate out the blood clots, it also eats out the blood vein. And the doctor said you could bleed out right there on that table.
Sounds like a double-edged sword is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, it was scary. I had to say all the things I needed to say to my family in that minute.
Mm-hmm.
And, I had family here, and I thought my guard unit was my family. And I was let down. And I wasn't the only one. Mm-hmm. I found more of us just in that same type of story.
And if someone would like to call in and share some of their stories, we'd certainly answer any of the questions.
Yeah.
Phone lines are open at 406-452-1073. So, Tanner, when you hear this story, I mean, how does it hit home, or is it something, I can do something about?
Well, yeah, we all want to do something about this. I just asked Rory real quick, did this stem from getting the COVID vaccine? Is that what they relate to the clot, or just something?
Well, you got to remember, this was January 5th, 2020. So the virus got here in December. Okay, my family member went over there for Sletton Construction, was driving a truck, bringing back an 80-ton crane, and I believe he was a carrier of it, Tanner. And when he brought it over, we all caught it around Christmas.
Yeah. We all had it.
Yeah, and I found out afterwards, they didn't even know how to deal with me. There was that much going on. So I was carrying this thing, generating blood clots in my body constantly. I was fighting for my life for the whole 2020. And I kept going back, but you got to understand, they were shutting down hospitals. They shut down the Harborview Stroke Clinic in Washington, Seattle. They shut down the benefits here. I mean, they were organizing it to keep it to a location, and Malmstrom shut theirs down too, their clinics and their doctors.
So you were having these clot issues pre-vaccine then?
Yeah.
This was just something
way pre. Yeah, it was really dangerous then.
Yeah, that's scary stuff. I'm obviously unvaxxed, but you hear stories like this, and it's a tragedy. These are things that shouldn't be happening. No. Period. Yeah.
It's almost a disgrace, is what you're saying.
Well, it is.
I mean, these people are out there fighting for our freedom, are they not?
It is.
Okay.
Well, they're fighting to keep us free. Yeah.
We're letting them down.
Yeah, we are. And the governor activated the guard unit to go out on the border. Mm-hmm. They were doing swabs. Nurses were running all over the hospitals. What happens to them when they get it? Okay? I mean...
Do they fall between the cracks?
And that's the frustration. It's not a money issue. Like Randy brings up, if we have money to dole out for illegal aliens, obviously, by George, we should have some funding to help our veterans. Yeah, I mean, these are the stories that we just can't have. And speaking with my stepdad, he was involved with the VA down in Tucson, which is amazing. Everybody loves it down there. It's a bigger market. They take care of their folks. Yeah, he now lives in Hamilton, but when he wants to go get a tooth pulled, they send him to Billings or Great Falls. So the whole VA system is systemically broken here in Montana. They were supposed to have your medical card that would be transferable to any primary caregiver, but yet the paperwork is so bad for the primary caregiver that they don't want to take those clients on. So you have to travel around the country, or around the state. But those are things we need to fix. The bureaucracy needs to be structured and such. And I know Matt Rosendale tried to do it because that was the reason why you had your health care. But that needs to be the gold standard, just like Blue Cross Blue Shield is. Where any primary physician or dentist will take that card. We need to get back to where the service on the back end is where it needs to be, so the VA can just have a card that goes with them. They can go to the primary care physician like their wife does, like their kids do. That's what the model is going to be for solving this problem. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that an easy fix, a moderate fix, or boy, is that going to be a challenge within your 4-year, let's say your first 4-year term?
Well, it's whatever I say I'm going to do, we're going to do. And I'm going to appoint Randy Pinocci to this as my lieutenant governor. We're going to have an office in the Capitol, so every day we're briefed on this. What you see is political season. Everybody's, like I said before, they jump on board. We're going to help the veterans. They get the veteran vote, and then they forget about them. Mm-hmm. So we need to have this front and center. If we can have a Bureau of Indian Affairs on the second floor at the Capitol, then by all rights, we should have a Veterans Affair, office there on the second floor of the Capitol in Helena as well. Sure. The tribal governments, they want to be sovereign, but yet the people that fight for our sovereignty, for American citizen sovereignty and for the sovereignty of our country, they're not afforded some office space in Helena. And we need to have them right there every day so we can have these discussions, daily briefings.
Right, so it's a constant reminder.
It's a constant reminder because, political season, we all say, hooray, sure. Let's help the veterans. Right. The only reason we do this is because we're free. And then they're forgotten after the primary and after the general. And it needs to stop.
Now, Randy, you didn't even flinch when Tanner said that he was going to put you in charge of this situation. You're jumping on board.
Well, I actually asked for it. This was a result of having a meeting with Rory, and I expressed my concerns about veterans. And, I think a lot of people running for office express a concern about veterans, but taking the action to back up your concern makes the difference. And I think the listeners really need to take a serious look at voting for Tanner for governor, because we are going to add action. This state has 56 counties. If you were to spend a week in each county, that would take over a year, 52 weeks in a year.
Exactly.
We don't grasp how large this state is. There is a tremendous responsibility. It's going to take a long time for me to travel around and visit and commit to listening to the veterans. It's really a full-time job. Also, as a public service commissioner, I specialize in energy, which we don't produce enough. So I've told Tanner that we have to put a turbine at Gibson Reservoir. outside of Augusta. And if I can install that turbine, I'll stop all the flooding in the Sun River while producing electricity in Montana. Electricity produced in Montana is cheaper than when I bring it in from, say, California or Washington, 10 times cheaper. This is one of the reasons our rates are going up. So to have that experience as lieutenant governor, to assist the governor, I've got to get that turbine put in because I'll save Montanans millions. And keep in mind, folks, if I don't have enough electricity, I have to bring it in from out of state. And if they can't deliver it, then we got to turn the lights off. And that's exactly what a controlled brownout is. So I'm going to focus on energy. I'm going to work closely with the Public Service Commission. So I want you folks to know I'll continue to do that job and assist Tanner. But to make the commitment to travel around and give talks and interact with veterans is a serious commitment. And no one would say that and not follow up with that. And people that have known me, I've been in office for a few years, I have backed up every commitment that I've ever done, and I certainly will do this one. I have a brother who served in Vietnam who lives here in Great Falls. I have a brother-in-law who served in Vietnam who's in Butte. And I've worked on veterans issues with past administrations, and we're going to do a good job representing the veterans. And keep in mind, folks, voting in the primary election on June 4th is so important. You know, some of these listeners will say, wow, I'm going to vote for him in November. We're in a primary. And I got to tell you something, folks, it's disappointing, but most of you don't vote in the primary. I mean, I know the facts. I look at the primary results, and half of you don't vote, and that's where some of the most important elections are. So I can't stress enough to vote in the primary, the June primary, get registered to vote. You know, and I met a lot of veterans that aren't registered to vote. They just don't think anyone cares. And I got to tell you, I need the concerned citizens to register to vote and vote. This government's your government, folks, and you get the government you deserve.
That's kind of sad, isn't it? That there's a number of veterans out there that just don't believe that anyone cares, especially in the legislature then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you know, I was talking to Tanner earlier today for breakfast, and I was telling him about the stats on just alone in the state of Montana. I looked it up on Google for veterans. It's like 89,000. 89,000 veterans in the state of Montana. Incredible.
It is.
You know, Tanner, I mean,
we're the last best placed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when you think about it, the last primary race against Governor Greg June 14th, it was only 116,000 that got out. Now, we haven't even talked about the wives or the family members. You know, if they get out and just do the vote and understand what we're trying to do for these vets and try to build an infrastructure that is actually supporting them at the Capitol. Now, remember, you can do things, special things at the Capitol with the attorney generals. All that stuff through his power can have this happen. We just need to let everybody know that all 89,000 need to think about their benefits and what they can do for this state to make it better.
Yeah, we hear so much about Montana being the patriotic state in the nation, are we not? You know, per
we
capita?
are. Yeah.
Yeah, but you don't hear the what else is behind that.
Yeah.
As far as the harm that's going on with it and the sacrifice that isn't being met.
Well, and see, the 2023 session, one of my good friends, Senator John Fuller, he brought some good legislation to help our veterans with their taxes, with their benefits, and all that kind of stuff. But we need to embrace taking care of these veterans that keep us all safe. Mm-hmm. You know, well, I can't say it enough. Every election season, it's right at the top of mind, the veterans, and then they're forgotten about in those gap years. But having them at the Capitol, you know, then I can work with my legislative colleagues to get some good legislation in front of the, you know, in front of my peers, my legislators, and I will sign all that stuff that comes across my desk. You know, we need to take care of the veterans, period.
All right. Tanner Smith, of course, with Randy Pinocci and Rory Roberts. Now, Rory, you shared your story. I understand there's some veterans still out in our lobby that would like to share theirs.
Yeah, I just need to correct you on the last name. It's Robertson.
Robertson. Well, you're going to wait until the show's over? Is that what you're going to do?
That's how you do this. That's how we have fun. You got to break up the comedy.
I didn't think I was going to annoy you that long. Rory Robertson.
Yes, sir.
All right.
You know, you say it enough times, everybody remembers.
Well, we're going to take our next break here, and again, we still have more to look forward to with our visit. This is an extended version of Montana Talks, and we're, of course, involved with Bleeding Soldiers. We'll be back in just a moment. Good morning. You're with 102.7 KINX.
Strobel's Rental has the tools and equipment you need to bring your home or yard back to life this summer. Whether you plan to repaint the house or have a landscaping project in mind, Strobel's has the equipment you need, from power rakes to pressure washers, edgers to aerators, and so much more. Strobel's Rental is proudly serving Great Falls with 2 locations to serve you, 800 6th Street Southwest and 3001 10th Avenue South. Strobel's Rental. We rent most everything.
This community awareness message is brought to you by Royal Sass Salon. Show off your unique style with a tooth gem, or change your look to suit the day with their huge selection of paparazzi jewelry. Give yourself the royal treatment at Royal Sass Salon. Call 315-1023.
The 46th Annual Montana Bow Hunters Association Convention and Banquet will be held at the Heritage Inn April 5th through the 7th. For more information, call 761-1900.
This community awareness message is brought to you in part by Big Sky Tree Service. Got a fallen tree that needs to be removed by a professional? Look no further than Big Sky Tree Service. From just a bit off the top to a complete uprooting, they'll take the BS out of tree trimming. Licensed and insured. 799-8880, or find them on Facebook.
The Confero Sports Mixer will be on Wednesday, April 10th at 5:30 at the Exhibition Hall at Montano Expo Park. Proceeds help benefit for local tournaments. For more information, call Roger at 404-6709.
We're going abroad for the first time in years, to Spain. So we started using Babbel.
And started learning Spanish fast.
With Babbel, you can start having conversations in another language in just 3 weeks.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind.
In just 3 weeks, we're starting to have conversations in Spanish. Gracias, Babbel.
Babbel, language for life. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. That's Babbel.com.
Imagine buying a pair of sneakers and getting a soothing, gentle foot massage like you'd get during a relaxing pedicure just by walking. Skechers' new Massage Fit sneakers. Because Skechers, the comfort technology company, has designed a unique innovation that makes it feel like you're pampering your feet with a gentle massage in every step. The secret is Skechers' new patented wave technology on the sole that gently massages your feet while you're walking around. Find them for men and women at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
The struggle is real.
Put on some music.
No way, I'm already over on my data.
It could be your friends, your neighbors,
You got your phone, right?
No way, I've only got 29% battery left.
or even you.
Ugh.
The struggle is real, but there is hope.
No worries, I got it. I have Next Radio.
Next Radio?
What's that?
Yeah.
Oh, it's this free app for live radio on your phone. You just flip through what's playing now, music, news, sports. It's all there. And it uses up like 3 times less battery and 20 times less data.
Cool.
Nice.
If I hear a song I like, boom. Play history, it's all right there.
Oh, that's sick.
Yeah, Sprint, Boost, and Virgin already have it. T-Mobile and AT&T are going to have it soon.
Play Store?
Yep, Google Play Store.
Oh, sweet.
That's awesome.
Save the day. Be the hero. The struggle is real, but you can overcome. Download the Next Radio app free from the Google Play Store to unlock free FM radio on your smartphone.
Next Radio.
Radio you can see and hear.
Welcome back, everyone, to a special edition, an extended version, if you will, of Montana Talks. Now, that's Aaron Flint between 8 a.m. and 10 a.m. We here, as it's just past 10:30, have brought together a group of men that really have something to say and to bring it out into the open regarding, well, first of all, the organization known as Bleeding Soldiers, but second of all, what we can do to help out with our veterans. We've got Tanner Smith. He's a representative of House District 11 out of Kalispell, running for governor. His lieutenant governor on the ticket, Randy Pinocci, who is current commissioner of the Montana Public Service Commission. And also joining us now is Rob Rule. He is one of the veterans, from what I understand, that has a story to share with us, Rob. Can you give us a little bit of a background of, first of all, Bleeding Soldiers, what it means to you, and what's been done to you?
You know, I used Rory as part of my background. We're building a big veteran center down in Sheridan, Montana.
Oh, okay.
Different than anything in the nation, probably different than anything in the world. Our veteran suicide has gone from 22 to 44 a day. It has doubled. And if you go to our foundation website, which is www.centerfor, that's F-O-R, warriors.org, It gives the background of how that 44 a day came to pass.
Mm-hmm.
It is a very, very complex issue. If we're going to be reaching out, what I've heard today here so far is a certain group, but it's a big, vast organization, and a vast, complicated issue of why our veterans are taking their own life. First of all, we have a system right now that has failed them tremendously. The veterans that have already taken their life are called Green Star families. Those are the families that are left behind. We did a big fundraiser on February 10th down in Helena and raised enough money to be able to grant up to 3 scholarships for the Green Star families. When you look out across the country, you see a lot of Gold Star family programs that pay for houses, pay for scholarships, pay for camps, pay for helping the whole family. But you can't find anything for Green Star families. We are creating the very first foundation to be able to take care of the families who their loved one had lost the war in their mind.
It almost seems like they're forgotten.
They are.
That they never existed in the first place.
You know, I've been on the radio quite a few times trying to beg and plead to families to reach out.
Mm-hmm.
But by the way that they were treated by our government when their loved one took their own life, they're just shunned and pushed aside. There's one little program called Military One Source. That's a 4-week program. That's the only program available. But it's so hard to even get people to step forward there. So what we've got, we have, first of all, a big team that we've assembled together.
Mm-hmm.
We have a director of medical services, and we have a director of mental health,
mm-hmm.
and many, many more people. But those are 2 key people that are creating the programs for the families. But because of the way that, especially if it's dad that took his own life, more often than not, mom loses the home. Mom has to take on two jobs. First of all, by the way that they were rejected, they don't believe there's any hope out there.
That's the common reason.
Yeah.
We've got a phone call to Rob. I wanted to go to the phone to find out. Hey, good morning. Who's this?
My name is Beth, and I am calling because I wonder if people realize the effect it has on the children, the way they see the veterans treated, especially in their own homes, like their dad or their mom. You can't realize the effect that it has on these children. And I'm talking your teenagers, your young adults. They are just so distraught. How can people treat people that way? And especially military. You just cannot realize.
Well, does anybody want to comment on that?
I'll take that one, Beth. Thank you. This is Tanner. Yes, and a lot of that kind of goes by region. You know, up in Kalispell area, we're extremely patriotic. Our schools, they put on Veterans Day, Memorial Day. They have a rally there in the gym. So it's kind of by region. You have to look back at, like when my stepdad got back from Vietnam, those guys were just excoriated when they got back. So I would just say reach out to your friends, you know, make sure that these veterans are appreciated for what they do. If you see someone treating a veteran incorrectly, call them out. You know, the left is doubling down on being negative towards veterans, and now's the time we need to be doubling up on supporting our veterans. Always thank one every chance you get, and this is a generational shift that we can see. You know, all of my kids know that we're free because of veterans, so and they're not afraid to say that to their face. So whenever you see somebody being rude to a veteran, call them out. You know, speak up and say something.
I think this is a very deep emotional problem that even our adults don't deal with. I really do. And we have a lot of suicides.
Yeah, and you're not wrong. And that's one of the rubs I had with our current governor was over the recreational cannabis rollout. We have a lot of veterans right now, the guys that need the most help, that are struggling with the substance abuse issues and the drinking. They're ones that are now going to the dispensaries and self-medicating with the cannabis and the THC that's on steroids. That's also
Do you
another.
think we're reaching?
Go ahead.
Do you think we're reaching who we should be reaching?
Well, no, and that's the problem. The mental health aspect is paramount in this conversation. The folks that need the most help don't have those resources. Our veterans need someone to talk to. Rob Rule and these guys have some really great, places to facilitate those conversations. But we need to double down and take that stigma away from asking for help. That's because I have veterans. A lot of veterans I've done the digging for in the Flathead. And we have a close-knit organization up there where I know at least my veterans, they're not afraid to say they need help and ask for it. But there's a lot of folks that don't have those resources, and they're the people that need the most help. So we need to ensure that they have it.
All right. Thank you, Beth, for calling in.
Vietnam era.
Yeah.
Okay.
That is true. But thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
You got it. That's Beth. And we really appreciate people actually sharing the situation that they're in. Obviously, some are a little bit more in contact, connected with it than others. But we've got the phone lines open at 406-452-1073. And getting back to you, Rob, you were mentioning that it's doubled. The suicide rate has doubled, or the suicide rate per day has doubled. Is that the one common reason, is that they feel no one cares out there?
No, it is much deeper than that. That's part of it. That's only that outer shell. It's the way that the government has failed, and that is a whole different tier. First of all, you're looking at, how many tours did the veteran serve? Where did he serve? How was he treated in service? I've done an enormous amount of investigation on that, a lot of research. First of all, I'd like to say one thing. Tanner, thank you for your comments right there. Thank you for your leadership.
That's honest and genuine and from the heart, because it is. Yeah.
Amen.
Thank you.
What I've looked at is, when our serviceman goes to war, quite often they're stepping forward because they care for this country. That caring heart that they have. I look back at 9/11, the devastation that had to this country, to this nation. I saw a lot of people step forward and say, here am I. How can I serve my country? But because of who they are, for that ambition in their heart, they go over to, they might have shot a deer, maybe shot an elk. But when you shoot a man, it does something. They come back home after their first tour, having a real hard time looking in the mirror. The shame, the guilt. They go back to work and find chaos. Their heart just brings them back to going for another tour. And because they have that experience, they become like the buddy who takes somebody, the newbie, under their wing to show them what's going on. They're a leader. And because of that, they see more. They experience more. So when they come back home that second time, they're changed. They're hurting. They go back the third time, they come back a very angry person. And it's because each time they go there, they experience, because they're experienced veterans now, experienced warriors, they get sent to the front lines. And it might be something as simple as, here comes a little kid strapped with bombs. They may have to take that little kid's life, or that woman's life. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We have done so much research. We have put together a program down in Sheridan, Montana. It'll be, first of all, a 140,000 square foot center with an 80,000 square foot addition. That entire community is designed around those programs. And with Randy and Tanner's help, we will change the way the nation looks at this.
I'd also like to just add that's very pertinent, excellent, Rob. But in speaking with my stepdad, especially with the Vietnam vets, when we had that draft, the government drafted people. So you had people that really, weren't set up psychologically to see what they had to see. My stepdad went over to Vietnam. He went over angry. So that's why he did 3 tours, and he's more or less good because he was already angry when he went there. But you had a lot of folks that went over, librarians, school teachers that went over, and they saw stuff that they probably psychologically shouldn't have to see. And those are the ones that need the most help. That having an all volunteer army, people kind of sign up knowing what they're getting in for. But when you have the draft and have issues like that where people were forced to go see that stuff, they need all the help we can get them, completely.
Right, and I would imagine a little bit will go a long way.
Yeah.
A little bit of positivity. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, I would like to visit regarding voter integrity. I noticed that, Randy, you brought that up, and I think that's a subject that I think we should cover before we kind of wrap things up here, okay?
Thank you.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it to it, okay? You're listening to an extended version of Montana Talks right here about 102.7 KINX.
Did you know that Pacific Steel carries rebar from number 3 through 8 bar in stock lengths? Whether it's full bundles, a semi-load, or more, we have the rebar for your construction projects. We also have a team of qualified estimators and detailers to do the takeoffs and full bid packages. Cutting, bending, rolling equipment to handle the processing too. Call 406-771-7222 so we can get started on your quote. Pacific Steel and Recycling, 100% employee owned, 100% here for you.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this football season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of statistics, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and an enormous selection of players and stat options are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million football fans who have already signed up. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/primetime and use code PRIMETIME. That's code PRIMETIME at prizepicks.com/primetime for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
Use your tax return to hire JD's Home Service.
Did you hear that?
I definitely heard something.
Use your tax return to hire JD's Home Service.
Oh, there it is again. Maybe it's a draft from the door frame we need to replace.
Hey, use your tax return to hire JD's Home Service.
Okay, it's definitely not a draft. But maybe we should give JD's Home Service a call.
Right after I called Ghostbusters.
Let JD's Home Service help restore the spirit of your home. JD's Home Service, 406-899-2191.
Jim Gaffigan here with some more Straight Talk. Let's take a moment to appreciate our sweet children, loving grandparents, and eternal soulmates. Now let's use them to save money on wireless. Because with the Straight Talk Silver Plan, you get 4 lines for just $25 a month with unlimited data and no contracts. So add those human pawns, loved ones, and save money. Thanks, kids. They're finally worth it. Straight Talk Wireless, available at Walmart.
Get 4 lines on Silver Unlimited for $25 per line per month, plus taxes and fees. For data management practices and additional terms, visit straighttalk.com.
Kelley Blue Book is the one-stop shop for pricing, fixing, selling, and instant cash offering. Instant Cash Offer is exactly what it sounds like. An official offer to buy or trade your car. Woo-hoo! Just enter your VIN or license plate, answer a few questions about your car's history, and what kind of condition it's in. In minutes, you'll receive an offer to sell or trade your car that you can be sure is fair. Then choose a dealer to purchase your car and schedule a time to meet. For all of the its, KBB.com.
Welcome back, everyone, to 102.7 KINX and kind of a special edition of Interaction. It is an extended version of Montana Talks. And we're visiting, of course, with Tanner Smith, running for governor right now, a House representative of District 11 out of Kalispell. Randy Pinocci, who is the current commissioner of Montana Public Service Commission. We visited with Roy Robertson, Jim Riley, Rob Rule. James Coombs is now joining us into our studio. But But I want to start off this segment and briefly visit about something that, Randy, you brought up. One of the three topics that is a huge concern, and that is voter integrity. We're hearing that we're making it different, or we're trying to make it different to make it, I guess, safer and more secure. But some people are complaining that, wow, it's making it harder to vote. What do you have to say for those people there?
These are all good questions that I think this is a great time to visit about. Let's take a look at what happened in Missoula. They sent out more ballots than there were registered voters. Clearly, that means there's trouble. We're seeing complaints here in Cascade County where a person will come to the election office and they'll have a ballot in their hand and another ballot in their hand and say, hey, I got 2 ballots at my home. And one was a person that used to live there but doesn't live there anymore. Sometimes there's 3 ballots. A person passed away, a person that used to live there, and then the current one, which means that person could have, theoretically voted 3 times. There's room for improvement, folks. And you got to understand, it's a difficult job. People pass away all the time. And it's hard for the election office to know, who passed away, and then they send them a ballot. I think we have some good answers to these questions. I think that maybe every 2 years we have to throw all of the database out and everybody has to re-register. I think this will help clean that problem up. But we have to take a look at making it where you have to have a photo ID to vote, all right? And I don't think it's a good idea to let students vote with a student ID because a student could be from out of state. Working with Conrad Burns 20 years ago, we had a lot of problems in Missoula getting votes. What I explained to him is a lot of those college students were voting for Democrat leadership, and they were from out of state. They were using their student ID to vote, and then they could vote in their home state. So I think that we have to say, look, students have to have a Montana driver's license and have to be registered as a Montana resident to vote. We can't let them use a ski pass, which we have done, or a student pass, which we do. We really have to tighten that up. And I think Montana voters want a higher level of voter integrity, and there are changes that we can make. And Tanner and I are committed to making those changes.
Good. Thanks, Randy. I'd just like to add to that. If I'm allowed to earn your vote and be your next governor, on week 1 I will declare an executive order that every county in Montana needs to disclose those cast vote records. I would encourage everybody to go watch the movie by Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. That kind of boils it down to what we're seeing happen county to county. And there is a cabal that doesn't want you to see those records. The records are public domain. It's for all of us to see. We all want transparent elections. This is not a partisan issue. Whether you're a conservative Republican like myself or a Democrat from Missoula or Gallatin County, we all need to make sure that we have fair elections. And I will ensure that those cast vote records are released because every county should be giving that up. Every county clerk should be giving that up. And I want to encourage everybody to go to your county commissioner meetings and let your voice be heard that you want to have those cast vote records released because that's the who's who of who voted, what precinct they voted in. There's no way to get around that. And that's something that these machines have in them by default, that they have to have that information. So we all want voter integrity. My vote is just as important as an 18-year-old from wherever. We all need to have secure elections. I'll just leave it with that.
Right, because it can happen, can't it? I mean, it can be a much more secure election.
And let's talk a little bit about machines hooked to the internet. I think the Montana voters are very uncomfortable with that. And hand counting becomes an issue that can quickly check a machine. Folks, we have 56 counties. Some of these counties only have 200 or 300 votes. Some of them only have 1,000 votes. By the time you get the machine calibrated and the ballots to go through it correctly, you really could have counted them all by hand. Now, that doesn't work for the larger counties like Yellowstone County with Billings or Cascade County with Great Falls or Missoula County with Missoula. But I do think that the public is demanding that machines are not hooked to the internet in any way. Why would you want them to be, right? And that we should have the right to request a hand count just to see how close the machines are. I've been traveling the state pretty heavily, and they've voiced a strong opinion to this, and I want the voters to know that I'm committed to going around the state and watching that very closely, because when they bring a concern to the governor's office, our job is to listen.
Just kind of a quick response there. Is it because people want the count to be more immediate? They want an outcome to. I mean, are we living in the age of we need it immediately? We need to know before midnight happens. Is that why they want it?
Well, and it's a double-edged sword. You know, the machines were there because the machine is supposed to be impartial and unbiased. You know, because I don't necessarily trust hand counts in Gallatin or Missoula County, kind of your Democratic bastions, because bad actors will always do bad actor things. So the machines are a good redundancy to keep the people in check. But when you have, just like Randy said, when you have modems that are in these machines, and that has the risk of bad actors getting in there and hacking things. And we saw that. I would once again go watch that movie, Let My People Go, because you saw in real time how votes were subtracted, during election night. And this is just addition, folks. Those ballot machines are only adding votes. They shouldn't be taking votes away. But like I say, everybody needs transparency. We all want to feel that our vote matters, and the only way to do that is just to be honest. Cast vote records need to be released. And no modems in the machines, but they're in there right now.
All right, we've covered the topics, the three of them, of course, obviously voter integrity, as well as energy and veterans. We're joined by James Coombs. Now, James, we've only got a couple of minutes left here, okay? Are you involved with Bleeding Soldiers at all, and how are you?
Yeah, I'm starting to get involved now. I'm running for the House seat in District 18. I just figured I'd give people a more conservative option. Never really planned on being a politician. Don't plan on being a politician. Just be there for the people and speak for them. And I think being a veteran, and my wife's a veteran, these are some important issues because we ourselves have dealt with some of these issues with the lack of transparency and the government helping us, our veterans. And I think that's really important. So that's why I'm backing Tanner and Randy, because I think this is an important subject that we need to address. And everybody kind of just keeps kicking the can down the road. And like Tanner said, during election season, people tell you what they want to hear, but after, they have no concerns. So
you look at this, you hear about it, and I imagine that you've heard of the comments about the frustration and all that. And you said enough is enough.
Yes.
So it's time to get involved.
It is, yeah. And so that way the people actually have a voice for somebody that's going to stand up and speak for them. And like I said, being a veteran, that's my job. I mean, that's my duty to this country.
So what would you do when stepping into the legislature then? Would you introduce a bill or anything like that?
Yeah, I'd be working hand in hand with Tanner and Randy and these other organizations, and we'd be moving forward to incorporate these bills that are actually going to help our veterans.
All right, just one last comment then. Have you seen it firsthand, though? I mean, you being a veteran, but have you seen it firsthand, the seriousness of it, the suicides rates, the people or the veterans believing that nobody cares? Have you seen it firsthand?
I have, and unfortunately, and I don't like to talk about it, but my 3 oldest children, their father, committed suicide while on active duty. So I have experienced it firsthand, and the effect that it's had on my 3 children, along with other family members. So it is an important thing, and it's, I think people take it for granted, honestly. They just think, oh, that's horrible, and then just kind of move on. But we need to stop, and we need to consider these things, and we need to, come up with action and a solution.
And that's one thing we heard from Beth, too. Tanner, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just like to reiterate, ask for help. If you're a veteran out there, or even if you're not a veteran, ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help when you feel at your worst time. We deal with suicide in the Flathead, obviously, like every place does. But just there's no shame in asking for help. So just remind everybody that.
Yeah. And we should remind everybody that people can make a difference, and the first thing to do is to vote in the primary.
Absolutely, and I want everybody to know I'm endorsing James for his race. These are the type of representatives that I need in the legislation as Tanner and I move important legislation forward. And, I want to make a comment where you had said, are we making things more difficult to vote? Folks, when you make it easy to vote, you usually open the door to voter fraud, okay? A person that says, well, I want to be able to vote with a student ID. I want to be able to vote with a library card. Look, folks, the whole point is we need to tighten our elections. We got to watch our integrity. And making things easier usually opens the door to voter fraud or inaccurate voting. So I think the Montanans are very clear. Voting may be a little bit more difficult asking for that photo ID.
This is a special alert
We
to
got
all Americans who own a vehicle
All right, well,
with less than
this is
200,000
going to wrap
miles.
things
with
up
an
here
auto
for us
warranty.
here this morning. And again, Tanner, I want to let you have the last word. Remember, of course, Tanner Smith running for governor, Randy Pinocci running for, lieutenant governor, and currently the commissioner on the Montana Public Service Commission. But James Combs, thank you so much for running for House District 18 and for coming in this morning. We sure appreciate what you're doing, and keep up the great work, okay?
Thank you.
And Tanner, go ahead. Wrap things up here
Last
this morning.
word.
It's been an incredible morning, incredible hour for us.
It has. Thanks for having us, Troy. I'd just like to say again, go to tannerformontana.com, donate money if you can. Know that money will be going to helping veterans, because we are committed to doing this, Randy and myself. And if you let great people like James here, we will make change in Helena and through our state. So go to tannerformontana.com, and we appreciate any help monetarily that you can give. Thank you.
You got it. And look up Bleeding Soldiers, all right? Spend some time on that
Yes.
today and find out what it's about and see if you can't get involved.
You betcha.
All right.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for being a part of the extended version of Montana Talks this morning. This has been Interaction, and you're listening to 102.7 KINX, Fairfield, Great Falls.
102.7 KINX. Fairfield, Great Falls. More news, more information, more often.
USA News, I'm Ryan Daniels. President Biden still trying to eliminate some student loan debt. USA's